Let me share also about how we achieved this and how we moved through the waters, uncertain water that we navigated at the beginning. This was in 2015. Can we move to the next one? When the idea came to our table, and this Cathy background told us in TNC meeting, said, "Well, what about an insurance for the reef?" And we all asked, "What? What for?" I mean, the reefs recover naturally, as somebody mentioned yesterday. And so we had to find out if that was true or not. And we had to do the research and communication with universities, specialists in reefs, but also reef insurance experts and government and hotel owners who actually were worried about the conditions in the area. So all the lessons were actually compiled when we finished that process in this guide that many of you maybe have seen and shared. So I want to tell you a little bit more about the Mexican context to understand how we developed this and why we turned it out to be the case we have now. No? And so first, the tourism industry in Mexico is huge. Actually, I would say it's particularly in the Mexican Caribbean, where it was a new area that was developed in the 1970s. And turned out to be now we have 33 million tourists coming in that area. It's a lot of people actually generating a lot of revenue to the country and to the many companies also who are working there. And an important thing that all the hotel owners and tourist sector mention all the time is that we pay a lot of taxes already. We are paying the income tax, the sales tax, the cruise ships, and they continue with the list. And many more taxes have been imposed, or fees or levies, to the tourism industry since we began this work 10 years ago. Can you imagine? No? And the economy we have a federal system in Mexico. The Quintana Roo state is the state where the tourism happens. 80% of the economy depends on tourism. So it's very important to have these numbers in mind. So, but this tourism is at risk, at high risk, I would say, and several of those risks are actually, one is the loss of beaches, because people go there to see the beach, mostly. Second is the reefs. But the most important, they go and lay down in the beach and drink and have big parties over there, no? But then we have the sargassum deposits, also impact of climate change, and you can see in the picture, it's terrible, really. The effects of the arrivals in this, precisely March through June, is you cannot swim really in the beach. It's a disaster, I will say, no? Mexico is a narco country, too sad to say that, but it's true, and so that's also a risk for tourism. Then you have the hurricanes that affect year to year, every 5, 10, depending on the situation, the infrastructure, the hotels, the avenues, the whatever. But also they have degradation of reefs and also a social aspect of income inequality, because there is so much money, but also so much poverty in the same conditions, no? So among all those risks is that we have to focus on reef degradation. So this is the challenge, because there are so many problems that we have to face there, and one of them is the reefs, actually, no? But also the reason actually why there is a problem for the tourism industry, and for us, we care about biodiversity and we care about the livelihoods of people who depend on the reef. No, so there are different reasons for degradation: water pollution, bleaching and diseases, and hurricanes. So water pollution is being addressed by government, by different entities, and there is a strong effort from the government and to address the problem. Bleaching, little you can do actually, except that we have to work on less pollution, less greenhouse emissions, and hurricanes. So there was a niche for somebody, in this case TNC and the partners that we were working on addressing the degradation of reefs in terms of hurricanes. And hurricanes were also not only because all those problems that we have, but the hurricanes exacerbate those problems. No, so we have a lot of data for the whole Caribbean, and that's why the universities and science was so important, that the hurricanes are bad, but also they increase the problems that we have for water pollution, for diseases, from bleaching events, no? And there is no water recovery. And that's also a realization for many of us that we thought it was natural, but it was not happening because all the stressors that the reefs already have. So we decided, okay, yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go and have a post-storm response program. And so we began what you are doing now from 2016 to 2017. And we decided to have this integrated program. From the beginning, we said insurance is a tool, but also we need to have this complete governance, this complete program. We have the governance, who leads, who pays, who manages the funding. We have the brigades, people who have to go on the water to do the repairs. The protocol, which has not been mentioned too much in these conversations, but it's so important to have a clear pathway of how to do the response and who is going to lead and how the techniques are going to be used And then financial instruments. We knew from the beginning that insurance was part of the puzzle, but not the only one. So, and so at that time, we identified one source of funding because the tourism industry, who was so concerned about the loss of the quality of the environment that they were working with, wanted to do something about it. They were losing the beaches, they were losing the reefs, as I mentioned, and they wanted to do something. They are already paying a fee. The hoteliers who own pieces of the beach, they have concession from the federal government, so they pay already a fee, $12 million per year, and some of that money, $4 million, has to go to a trust fund. So the source of revenue was already there to do something. Yeah, we need to convince the stakeholder that the insurance or the post-storm response was an avenue to use that money, no? Among the other stressors, security, social inequality, etc. No? So talking about financial aspects, no, we also thanks for the financial experts and risk managers. I understood that by that time I was an architect also, learning about those financial mechanisms, is that there are different layers of risk and also financial instruments to address those challenges, no? So obviously the one that everybody has been using all the time is the beneficiaries and the managers of the Reef, who have their own budget, annual budget, so they could address something, no? And we agree that that's the first layer of risk, and they are the ones who are going to put the money at the first moment, no? Then we had to set up emergency funds, like the savings accounts where you put some money, and then insurance, that the insurance is designed to actually cover only the major events. Scenario 3 and 4 could be hurricanes category 3, 4, 5, and up. And you also have to understand that there's some risk that is not going to be covered by any financial instrument because it's not financially viable to do that, no? So again, from the beginning, we have these different layers of risk and financial instruments. So in 2018, we said, okay, yeah, let's go ahead. And we agree with the government, particularly, and the tourism sector to start the program. So we have different stakeholders. Maybe I didn't mention that at the beginning, but it's kind of obvious. I am the spokesperson. I'm not the father. I'm kind of maybe the team lead. Because there were so many people. Actually, Swiss Re was one of the guides of us to understand what we need to be doing. No? So this is a comprehensive list of stakeholders who were involved here. No? So, well, the national protected areas, who are all the reefs nowadays in Mexico are under protected areas, federal protected areas. And so they set up the brigades, and we provided the training and the protocol. They set up the governance, who's going to lead. But we had to set up two sides of governance, and that's an important message that we have for you, and that we happen to have in Mexico. It was not the intent, but at the end, it happened that way, no? So we have the governance for the implementation of the program on the ground, but we also have the governance for the financial mechanism, which is the trust fund. This trust fund also responds to the needs that I mentioned before. The tourism industry wanted a trusted, accountable system to collect the money, this $4 million that I mentioned before, and in a way that they can participate in the decision making of how that money was going to be used. So in this trust fund is different board members from the tourism industry, from the local governments, from the universities, and TNC and the other NGOs are also involved in that governance. This trust fund turned out to be a very comprehensive program, but also cumbersome because we have like 20 people over there. Wow. No, this is not possible. Okay. So maybe I want to mention this because also the MAR fund has an emergency fund. At that time was already in place, and that emergency fund complemented the whole scheme of the financial layers and instruments. So we, in 2018, the next year after we have all these other elements in place, the government of Quintana Roo bought the insurance, the parametric insurance, and that's what made Quintana Roo famous. But the other elements of the program were already in place in the year before, no? But at the time, at the last minute, the coastal zone users fee were not used, but the state government decided, okay, I'm going to fund that from my own budget, no? Because they received so many other sources of income from the tourism industry that they were willing to actually pull the money for the insurance, no? So running the operation, the government of Quintana Roo has paid, as you can see, every year we have 7 years of purchase of insurance since then. We have also expanded the brigades and the training programs. And the brigades have been convened every year, not only after a hurricane, but after any storm or event that affects the reefs. They have gone and actually supported the protected areas in the reef restoration. So we have had 3 hurricanes in category 2 and 3 affecting the areas. So 2 of them had made payouts. One of them, Grace, didn't do payouts, but actually the brigades have been working there. So as you can see, there are thousands of fragments that have been recovered from these rescue operations, and the survival rate has been about 80% of all of them. Until 2 years ago, we had the white syndrome that affected all of the corals in Mexico, and we lost many of those coral colonies, but not because the hurricanes, but because of the disease. So what has worked well? Well, I think that the first and most important lesson for me is that the reef brigades are so important. They are people who are students, tour operators, fishermen, researchers who actually work, or government officials who are part of the brigades, and they work all the time. The government is very committed to continue buying the insurance. I mean, the state government, because the federal government is the one who leads the brigades. The response techniques have been improved. We have a new techniques, new protocols. It's recently updated by Marfond as well. So the insurance company have paid quickly when we have these 2 events. So that was not a problem. And the local contribution to the Marfond Emergency Fund has worked well to support some of these finance rapid responses, no? But what has not worked well, and maybe you will be somehow surprised here, because the quick transfer of funds from the trust fund, as I mentioned before, to the brigades has not been possible. It has been always a bureaucracy. In that case, it's so cumbersome, this trust fund that the government created, even though we told them this is not going to work very well. We need to improve it. Anyway, so the trust fund finally, what has done is funded the long-term restoration of the reefs after the hurricanes. So we have the rapid response funded by the emergency fund, and then we have the brigades actually going later on to do the restoration. No? So this splits between the implementers and the trust fund is a problem that we have, and we haven't been able to fully solve. And obviously, we have almost 200 people trained as brigadiers. Not all of them are functional. That's another piece of the weakness. But the ones who are functional work fantastic, no? Okay, so the takeaways. The program must be comprehensive. This is our most important lesson. There again, you have said that many times today that the insurance is a piece of the puzzle, and these are the things the brigades and the proper governance is so important. And I think this is more or less the same thing. Choose the financial tools for your need. So the emergency funds, the endowments, maybe Maria Jose will share also a little bit of the endowment that they have to support these emergency funds, and the local contributions have been so important. So these different layers of risk and different instruments have been very critical. And then the design of the parametric insurance is very straightforward. One of the problems we have is the size of the policy. I mean, how much money do we need? Yeah, identifying the trigger, I would say, is the quite easy thing. But how much money do you need? How much the capacity you have to implement it? So because we have policies that our policies, we pay, as I mentioned, this year $400,000 for the 1-year policy. But you can pay also $50,000 and receive some money and do something about it. No, so this is very critical decision that you need to make in terms of the how to use the insurance. And I think that's it. So thank you very much.